He said his neck is wrecked. He talked in the same interview about his future and how, he can't be a full time wrestler anymore. He can't because of the strain it's put on his body. He wants to be able to lift his daughter up. That's one thing that he very clearly said. He said one of the things that he's worried about is he won't have the ability to lift his daughter up on his shoulders, and that's something that he's repeatedly cared about. That's something he's repeatedly said he wants to be there for his family. He doesn't want to be that wrestler who stayed in the game for too long, and is suffering later in life. So that's what he said. We know his contract is expiring relatively soon. What do you make of those comments from Daniel about his neck, about his body, and what could that mean for his future?
Again, he said this last week as well. It is such of a kind soul and honest as Daniel has been with his fans in recent years. I I believe every word. But is it is it bad enough? Is it too bad for him to continue wrestling? The only person that can say that is him. But he might be using like I said, this career-ending match to to hold his kids, to take care of himself, so he can have the ability to still be the dad he wants to be. I mean, he's right. So, and it's not just wrestling; it's athletes in general. Some athletes just don't know when to say no, just don't know when to walk away, and end up and sometimes end up getting super hurt or not being the athlete that they once were. So, I mean, if that's his reasoning, and this really is him putting up the tights, so to speak, then good for him. He's getting out at the right time. He's doing what he should do for him and his family.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's probably a good move on his part. We saw a neck injury took him out of action for over a year during the best time of his career. So I think that he's looking out for himself and he's looking out for his family. You can never blame anyone for that. That's why all these marks on their computers who were like, "Oh, Daniel Bryan, tough it out." Like I saw that, and I was just like, "That's
Oh yeah,
insane. That's insane, dude." Like the dude has literally given everything and some to wrestling throughout his life, and I think like for anyone to say at the age of 40, Daniel Bryan shouldn't be allowed to make his own decision about his future is asinine. He should be whether he wants to stay in WWE and only wrestle like big programs, or whether he wants to just never wrestle again. I think Daniel Bryan, his legacy will remain intact. That's one thing we do know. Daniel Bryan's legacy will remain intact. He is going to go down as one of the most beloved wrestlers by the fans ever. He's going to go down as one of the best technical wrestlers of all time. And like as all around performers go, like man, like if we're just talking about pure ability, like in the ring, on promos, like telling a story, everything, man. Like I don't think you can find anyone better than Brian. Like as far as like just the ability, like whether we're talking about execution later, or like he hasn't had the same opportunities as some other people, but man, like the ability on Brian, I think is like out of this, just insane, man. And he got so much better. Like he
there are
just
too
keeps
many
on getting
people
better.
that are as good as Brian or were as good as Brian. Like Brian is just he's crazy. He's amazing.
He's amazing. You know what else? You know what else I thought was amazing, Trevor? So your favorite Hall of Famer, X Pac, actually weighed in on this. So X Pac said in an interview that he believes that WWE should allow Bryan to wrestle elsewhere while still under contract of WWE. So the scenario he laid out essentially is something along the lines of Bryan re-signing with WWE, but having a contract that allows him to work independence, that allows him to work with other companies. And the reason for that he gave was twofold. He said, one, Bryan has kind of earned that right at this point as far as like where he is and who he is in his career. And two, the other big thing that he noted was that it would help WWE in the long run kind of, maybe bring fans over or help WWE kind of spread their words elsewhere. So that was an interesting like scenario, I thought. And from
But
Sean Waltman of all people.
didn't
What do you have to say about that?
didn't Hulk Hogan have a similar deal back in the day
Oh
like that?
yes, Hulk Hogan did do similar things back in the day. When he went to New Japan as the WWE champion, where he called the WWE championship a trinket on a Christmas tree,
I do
and said the
remember.
real belt is the New Japan belt. Which, hey, doing business, but man, state of your title, mate. Like, come on.
Right.
But yeah, what do you think about that scenario though? Like that Sean Waltman lays out.
Um, honestly, I think that would make sense to me. It's certain wrestlers that I think should be able to do that. He's one of them. Mainly because he's getting to the end of his career, and we all know it. You know what I mean? And there are still some things career-wise that he still wants to do. Um, and he's been pretty much. I won't. I, I don't want to necessarily say ambassador, but he's really been one of your better talents, one of your better people. He's trained people on the side. He's done a lot behind the scenes with WWE. Like if anyone honestly deserved it, Brian does. But I feel like there's so many other talents you can do that with as well. You know what I mean? I feel like Ricochet should be allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like um, what's the what's the other Muslim guy that was part of
Ali.
yeah, yeah. I think he should be able to do that as well. Like there are certain wrestlers I think should be allowed to do that, and I think that was part of the reason why Austin Aries left because he wasn't able to travel around and do and wrestle different people, and he wanted to do that.
It is an interesting thought. Like people that like WWE apparently has a hard time finding creative for all the people that work there at certain points. So it's an interesting thought that like how do you keep these wrestlers relevant that are under your contract? How do you keep them relevant at the same time while like not like necessarily like letting them go? I think that's a very simple like answer. I think maybe you don't have to let them wrestle for AEW, right? But like
Right.
letting them wrestle for like Ring of Honor at this point, letting them
Yeah.
wrestle for indies like whether it be PWG, MLW, I know is beginning to do some sort of deal with WWE, and we could see that in place. Like that would be good because you would be able to build these guys on the side because WWE, all of their spaces, all of their brands are just so saturated at this point with talent and stars and people they want to push and people who they don't want to push. That I think like that could be a solution to a lot of the problems that they've had. And again, like who benefits from this? Like you said, people like Aleister Black, people like Ricochet, people like Ali, people who aren't being used and who most definitely have the talent to be big stars. And like I said, Ricochet is probably the biggest one. Chad Gable,
Yeah.
Chad Gable is another one, man. Like again, I really hope like if I'm AEW, man, I don't care. Like Chad Gable's a free agent. That is like one name. Like we talk about how like their roster is getting saturated and like they're at the point where they probably shouldn't be signing too many.
That's what I would definitely jump at.
That's what, dude. He's like he literally is the second coming of Kurt Angle. He is the second, and it's like he's so crisp in the ring. His promos, like
they've gotten so much better. His promos
gotten so much better. But like even when he was part of American Alpha, like his promos were so good when he was in NXT. He was having amazing promos, and he had this great babyface fire. He was and like he's so crisp in the ring. The dude, like, if anyone should have been just Kurt Angle's illegitimate son in storyline, should have been Chad Gable. Like that's like no question. Like come on. Also, I don't know. WWE also doing the whole my black son gimmick. Like like that's literally like they got that from the Family Guy sketch. Anyway, but either way, like I hope they do that. But as far as Daniel goes, I mean, I don't think he's gonna re-sign with WWE. I think he's.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go and. Again, I think it is a 50-50 thing as far as I'm concerned, whether he retires and never wrestles again or whether he does like a part-time kind of deal with a different company. I don't think he's going to tie himself down, though. I think if he does do it, he's going to be kind of like an independent contractor and doing his own thing and not necessarily exclusively with AEW or exclusively with Ring of Honor. I think he's going to be like a kind of like a traveling attraction, which we have not seen in wrestling in such a long time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think he could do that. He's big enough where he could do that and make it work, and he could draw money, and he would help out other wrestling companies. So I think that's That'd be a great way for Bryan to do things. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.